Hello, everyone. Today is Saturday, October 29th, 2022. We always start with our disclaimer, go over our calls, make some predictions, and because it is the weekend, we take a look at the long-term picture as well. It's my trading plan for Monday, which is Halloween 2022. And just remember, I can be completely wrong. Any trade you make should be at your own risk. We looked for the pattern with the early high, which is this. It tends to be a rally day with a high in the final hour, so we got that. We said unless we gap down smartly, we had a target of 38, 35, 47, and that did print. Now, here's what we said. We said futures were down smartly as I was recording this, so gapping down was possible, and that would take the number off the table, but we didn't open down smartly. We opened pretty much unchanged, and so we got the number. These are the patterns I'm looking for next week. Well, this looks like a pretty strong rally, but it's not enough to impress MEJT, which gives us some targets. We have a target of 35.64, most likely to print by early Tuesday, and an optional target, which will print almost every time before Monday's close, of 38.27.97. Does not print. By Monday, we'll just forget that one. Well, early on, we got a MEJT buy signal, which certainly worked, but there's an optional lower target, and that hasn't happened yet. The buy signal worked, but when it went up here, MEJT said it wasn't going to stick, and that gives us the lower target. In the afternoon, all these squiggles were forecast to retrace, and that's already happened. This is a strong rally day. Tends to rally into the close. Especially on a Friday, it should follow through. This is not follow through. Here's your close. Here's the midday high. And we closed under the midday high. That's a sign of weakness, especially on a Friday. Now, if we gap up here Monday, all that weakness goes away, but so far that's a weak pattern. Now, we did rally strongly after the close, and that's also weak. It's weak because when the professionals were around, all that anxiousness to go long was absorbed by professionals selling. We just churned here at a resistance level, as we'll see. And once the professionals went home for the weekend, the great unwashed were just ready to go long at any price. It's analogous to a wall into the close. Now, it can all change Monday. We gap up here Monday, all that negativity goes away. But when you've got a strong rally after the close like that, and you've had really plenty of time to break through during regular trading hours, it means that the public wants to go long. The specialists are willing to sell to them. And when the public finally gets its way, professionals have to sell to them. They tend to get their money back very quickly by gapping down Monday. Now, of course, I don't know how we'll open Monday. We open up here, then the whole pattern goes away, but there's a strong likelihood of this gapping down. Now, here's the count I've been using. It certainly isn't the only count, but we've had a strong rally right up to a 50% retracement of the last drop. It's one of the places where you look for resistance. And you really don't want to rally into resistance. You want to hover around resistance and get your forceful break through it. That means resistance failed. And it could still fail. We could still gap up over this, but so far you've rallied to resistance and not through it. And resistance gets its reputation for a reason. Many times it'll hold, particularly when I don't trust this whole move off this trend line, which I want to see retrace. Now let's remember that's not the only way to count this. There's nothing wrong with this count. This has A, then an ABC, and it has B ending right here, because this is magenta A. And there's magenta C, right at the 61.8% retrace of A. Now, just because this count works, it doesn't make it right. But it's a plausible count. It doesn't break any rules, and it shows that we should have a top right here if this is the right count. Let's take a look at this rally up here. Well, you could count this as A and this as B. And that's C at 38.2%, and the fibs work. Now again, just because that count works, it doesn't mean other counts don't work. It doesn't make it the right count. But at least if we top here, you can explain it. This is also a cup with an upsloping handle. It's an unstable pattern. Once this trend line of the handle breaks, the whole thing retraces. Now, of course, it doesn't have to break. You gap up here, which I've seen happen, all is forgiven. But if we break this trend line, this whole pattern gets retraced. So you are vulnerable to a big drop here. Well, how does that fit in with the long-term picture? I mean, it's just hooey. I mean, we have this strong rally. Is it possible it really ended here? Let's take a look at the long-term picture. Well, this is my long-term count. You have a possible target of 2977.91, which we've had ever since the top. What if magenta A is here? And what if magenta B just ended? What if that's the count? Where could magenta C be? Well, here's your 78.6. And that is right at 2977.91. Ouch! So if we stop here, which hasn't happened yet, it could be major league trouble. Monday's pattern has the early high. We could still gap down. There are lower MEJT targets. Unless we gap up smartly, the rules call for them to print. The failure of Friday's normally bullish pattern to close over the midday high is compatible with churning at the top. There's a strong rally after the close that shows retail customers were champing at the bit to go long. It was only the selling provided by professionals which reined them in. We have Dow theory non-confirmation as the industrials broke out smartly to a new high and the transports did not. It stopped to the fib resistance level, and a number of completely unrelated timing systems of other people call for a top on Monday. Even if we trade higher before Monday's open, the pattern is vulnerable to dropping immediately, ideally by gapping down. And if that happens, hasn't happened yet, if that happens, we should see a very steep decline. And as always, you gap up smartly and the calls kill before the open. It's the pattern with the early high. We have lower targets. This looks pretty strong. I think it's a rally 2 resistance, but not through it. If we go up, all is forgiven. But if we gap down smartly, it could be a long way down. And that is today's call.